It's Transforce96 here with another video review. This time we have the Marvel Legends from the Raft set, which was a Comic-Con exclusive Abomination figure, which is a repaint of the Build-A-Figure from the Civil War Wave 2 series. So yeah, so very exciting. I did buy just a few figures from the Raft set. I didn't buy the entire Raft set, but I did buy Abomination, as you see here, as well as Purple Man. I will be doing a separate review for Purple Man. So let's go over it. So overall, I decided to buy this guy because for some reason, this guy was like the lowest priced of the wave, and it is kind of odd because he is a really big figure and he is a repaint of a Build-A-Figure. However, you know, some of these figures are unique, which is why they're obviously going for a decent amount of money. But Sandman is clearly going to be released eventually, and the Spider-Man I really don't see a big appeal on, but it was a surprise that this figure did turn out to be so cheap, which is why I did purchase it. I got it for like $28 or $7, and I got it when these figures like first started to go on eBay too, so I got it for a pretty great price. I'm very happy about that, and it's going to save me a lot of money because I have to say that the wave that he comes with as the Build-A-Figure, I'm not too fond of that wave. I think that they're mainly Scarlet Witch is a great figure, which I can't wait to get. Other than that, the other figures in this wave, I really don't find anything too special about, so I probably will get those figures, but I'll wait for really good discounts on all of them except for Scarlet Witch. I'll pay full price for her, of course, but so, you know, basically I got this figure so that I can buy the other ones at a cheaper rate, and obviously I get the Build-A-Figure really soon because I was very excited for Abomination as the Build-A-Figure. This is the same thing, just a different color, and it's still a comic book Abomination, of course. It's just done in a more modern color scheme than the actual Build-A-Figure is. But let's go over the actual figure. So starting off with the head sculpt, there's a lot of great sculpting on this guy. So let me definitely draw attention to that. Overall, the sculpt is really nice. Definitely like this head sculpt a lot. He looks really cool, very vicious. However, he's got that evil, you know, I'm a villain smile to him too, which I do like. The teeth are painted pretty nicely. They're all pretty sharp except for the front two teeth. Those are pretty kind of just buck teeth regular. Would have liked those to be a bit sharp. Unfortunately, they're not though. But I do like the sculpt in the face. All that line work and everything is actually sculpted there, which is quite nice. And then you know, with all the sculpted detail, it's all actually sculpted in there. And then they use a black wash to kind of rest in the seams and everything, which gives it a very realistic and really complex look, like, which I do like a ton. He does have a ton of detail at the top of his head too. Look at that, beautiful. I mean, the sculpting work on this guy is just A+, really fantastic. The only disappointment I have, which I'm seeing a lot of the figures on eBay have, is the fact that his little ears there, you know, one of them is perfect, but then the other one does seem to be bent, and that's purely just because of how he's packaged in the set. He is packaged where his left ear seems to always be bent. You know, you can use a hairdryer and fix that, and I actually do plan to do that. However, at the moment, I haven't had the time, but obviously this is how it should be. However, it is kind of bent. It kind of works out if you pose him in a way where it looks like he's moving this way, because it makes it look like the wind is kind of pushing his ear back a bit. So I found that taking some pictures with him, it's actually pretty okay, but I do want to get that fixed overall. Going over the detail and the body and everything is fantastic. The scales on the shoulder look excellent. They have a bit of a darker wash to them. Same thing with the scales on his back. Really, I mean, just sculpting work on this guy is gorgeous, I have to say. He has just his little underwear there. It's a dark blue color. There's really there's no texture in it, but there is some wrinkled detail, which is nice. And then the detail extends to the bottom here. He has this kind of a whitish yellow toenails and fingernails, which do look good. Overall, quite nice. Articulation on this guy is quite... Oh, also, some of this is resculpted or repainted from another Build-A-Figure being Rhino, but not much of it. But what I believe is actually just reused from Rhino is the arms from the bicep to the lower arm, and then the thighs from the thighs to the lower leg. However, the feet, hands, the shoulders, the entire body, head, and then and the lower piece here are completely new. Obviously, this is a repaint of the Abomination, but just as the Abomination goes, it is mainly a new sculpt with possibly just some slight bit of pieces reused from Rhino, but they're all very small, so it really doesn't matter at all. Really do like the expression in the hands. It's got a very angry, vicious hand sculpt there, which does look quite nice. Looks good on poses. And then the feet, of course, I am a big fan of those feet. Very unique, and they did sculpt them quite nicely. Going over articulation now. Articulation is quite good on this guy. He's got a ball jointed head, which is attached to a hinge. As you can see, when you get up there, you can see the hinge. You can pop this off. I would imagine that this is, you could take all these pieces off because this is just a repaint of a Build-A-Figure. The head, it pops off a bit too much. And, it's not something that's extreme. It happens just every now and then, but it is kind of annoying. But as you can see, he looks up a ton. He can bury his chin, basically, and then he can look side to side. Unfortunately, though, when he does look side to side, he does have the head that tilts, so he has that creepy look. Would have liked it a lot better if he was able to actually tilt his head and keep his head level with his body, though. You have ball hinge shoulders, which are quite nice. You have bicep swivel, hinge elbows. They're just single hinge, which does happen for most of the bulky Build-A-Figures, just because of the way that their muscles are sculpted. Then he has hinge swivel wrists. So as you can see, you can hinge him up quite far and in, which is quite nice. He's got an ab crunch, which can go forward a bit and he can go back a bit. The ab crunch doesn't really work too well. Then he has a swivel at the waist. However, when you do swivel it, you get that kind of ugly piece, because he has an oval waist. So when you swivel it, the oval misaligns, and therefore it kind of has that strange look. It's still fine. However, it is just if he had a more just rounded waist, that wouldn't have happened. However, it would have compromised the look of the figure. So I'm happy with what they did. You've got a ball jointed hips, which work quite nicely. Swivel at the bicep or at the thigh. You have single hinge knees, but the hinge do work quite nicely. And then you have hinge pivoting ankles. The ankle pivot works really nicely. So overall articulation is very standard, what you'd expect from Marvel Legends. However, Marvel Legends Standard has become really good over the past couple of years, so I am very happy with it. So overall, this is an excellent Build-A-Figure. I think sculpting-wise is fantastic. Articulation is exactly what you'd expect, and character-wise, I love Abomination. I'm a big villains fan, and Abomination, of course, being a classic Marvel villain and an arch nemesis of the Hulk, is definitely something that's great. So overall, really do like this figure a lot. Would highly recommend it to anybody. And depending on as far as which version I think is better, I kind of like the regular release version. I like the color scheme that he has because it's more classic. However, I have a big issue with how that one's painted. From what I can see, it looks like the front of his face and the front of his body have a really light coloring to him, which just really is a big contrast to the darker green on the rest of his body. So I think that he looks strange. So although I like the more classic comic depiction of him, I don't think it's particularly well colored. This one, I still like it, but I'm not as big of a fan as of his modern color scheme. However, I think that this one is painted a lot better. So overall, even if I never get the original Abomination, I'll still be very happy with this one. It won't bother me at all. However, like I said, I do plan to get the other figures in that wave just on heavy discounts. And then, of course, I'll buy Scarlet Witch as soon as I can, though. But for the rest of them, I'll just wait for discounts. But overall, a really fantastic Abomination figure. Like I said, though, it's a weak wave, so I don't know if I'd recommend buying the entire wave just for the Abomination. You can get this guy for like $30 on eBay, and I'd probably just recommend doing that over buying the other wave if you're not too fond of the characters in that wave. So there you go. That's my video review of the Marvel Legends from the Raft Comic-Con exclusive set Build-A-Figure Abomination. Thanks so much for watching.